Lightwork is light work. Think about it. It's as simple as that. When you are on the right path in your life, when you are aligned with your soul's path, what you intended to do in the first place, you'll find that your light work is actually light work. It's not heavy at all. It's a very easy load to bear. The difficult part is actually finding out what that light load is. Just imagine yourself in a storage room full of boxes, and time after time you're looking for the lightest load to bear. And in our early years, we go through those periods of time where we simply catch the load that is too heavy for us to bear. Some of us will even break our backs. But when you start tapping into yourself, when you start tuning in and you start to realize the messages that are within, not without, you'll be pointed in the right direction and you will see that box glowing with your name on it, actually. And it may not even be your carnal name, because it's nothing carnal at all, this light work. And when you are doing your light work, people will notice that your light work is light work. There'll be no strain. You could do it in your sleep. And that is a pun, because most times you are doing your work in your sleep. So it's very important for you to calm your nerves, meditate, go into the theta state, and let the vibrations just flow. Don't beat the current, be the current. And you will find that your light work is in actual fact light. Now you may be wondering, how on earth do I find out what my light work is? Well, because the universe is benevolent, it's not going to allow you to go around on this earth scouring for the truth and completely lost for eternity. It gives you clues. One of them being fourth dimensional astrology. Now notice I said fourth dimensional astrology. I didn't say tropical. I didn't say Vedic. I didn't say sidereal. But fourth dimensional. Because remember, just as the Matrix movies pointed out to you, everything is by a blueprint. And that blueprint is the universal language of numbers. So a lot of you out there who are on the cusp of going into the fourth dimension, so let's say you're on the higher level of the third, but nonetheless still in Sheol, which is hell in Hebrew, which is the third dimension. You probably refer to 3D astrology, commonly known as Western tropical. And if you wanted proof of the third dimensional reality that Western astrology, particularly what we know as tropical astrology, is, just look at the numbers. Because remember, numbers don't lie, people do. Symbols even can lie to you, but if you can decode those symbols which have the numbers as the blueprint, so under the surface, there is no hiding from fact. 12, as in the 12 signs. What is that numerologically? That is 3. 1 plus 2 equals 3. Again, keeping you in the third dimension. So for those of you out there who refer to the mainstream astrology, and it is mainstream for a reason, just know that you are referring to traits that you were already programmed through school, through your early childhood with. But remember, if you are a seeker, if you are, as we all are, starseeds by right, and you are trying to find that light load in the storage room, you have to refer to another system. And of course, you couple that with your intuition, your innate psychic abilities. Because remember, as I mentioned in another video, intuition is the best tuition, as in inside tuition. So you listen to yourself. But of course, we are physical beings on a physical plane. And you will want something more concrete than your energies, particularly if you are communing with others on this path. Your team, let's say. So look at 13 signs astrology as I refer to it. 1 plus 3, because remember, numbers don't lie, equals 4. 4D. So actually, there will come a time when Galeos.guru will be obsolete. Because remember, nothing is eternal, nothing is permanent on this plane. The only thing that is eternal is the source, the abyss, the black hole. The source that we cannot even comprehend, but you can only comprehend by means of, again, your intuition. So you can't put it into words. If I try to, it will sound all discombobulated. You have to refer to 13 signs, astrology, which Galeos takes control of, using Galeos's intuition, Galeos's powers. Notice the signet of Galeos.guru. That is the astrology that people now who are looking for their light load need to refer to, because that is going to point you in the way of your fourth dimensional being. But as I said, that is only for a period of time, because there will come a time when you are now transcending that fourth dimension as you transcended the third, and you will be going to the fifth and beyond. So there will come a time when paper astrology, when codes, when algorithms are obsolete, not because they are wrong or not because they don't lead you in the right direction, but you will be embodying them. But as of now, as you can see me as a separate entity to yourself, although we know that is not the case, we need to refer to things, we need to refer to systems that can actually be tools to complement and supplement what we are doing. So look at the codes. Don't refer to 3D astrology unless you are on the 3D plane and you're content. I can't judge you. But what I have learned in my traversing's, in my journeys, my voyages, is that people who are comfortable with the third dimension were meant to be comfortable. And you will find that those who are on the cusp of going to the fourth dimension, maybe not in this lifetime, but in the next, really refrain from looking at 13 signs astrology, because they're not quite ready for the fourth dimension. So the question you need to ask yourself, Mr. or Mrs. Lightworker, is, are you ready to be vibing? Are you ready to be consumed by the upper ethers, that being the fourth dimension and beyond? Or are you simply going to remain in comfortability or seeming comfortability on the third plane or show or hell? Because a lot of chaos is going around us at the moment, and it's going to ramp up in 2019. What's 2019 numerologically? Exactly 3. So we're going into a 3 universal year, because this year was 2. 2018 equals 2. And what is the higher aspect of 2? It is 11. And people out there, of course, know the fad, as I call it, 1111. But it's not a fad. The only reason why it is a fad is because people will say, oh, I see 1111 and oh, I'm awakening. But then they're still referring to the astrology their enemies gave them. They're still referring to the systems that their captors would have them refer to. Because remember, a half-truth is as good as a lie. So you will see what will happen in 2019 if you are not really listening to your intuition, if you are not listening to your team, if you are not listening to your oversoul, if you're not listening to whatever you want to call it. You know what I'm talking about. I'm going to prove something else to you as well. I've done so in other videos, but because they're all compartmentalized, let me put it all into one. So I already told you that 12 signs astrology or tropical or Western astrology is 3D astrology. Fine, nothing wrong with that. But myself, I passed the third dimension, at least at the beginning of this year. Probably before that, but I was only conscious of it this year. And I know that the work I do with Galeos will last only but a certain time, because I'm ushering not only myself but others into the fourth dimension. But the fourth dimension isn't the place you want to be ultimately. The fourth dimension is a halfway house. Picture yourself in jail. You've been released from jail or Sheol or hell or 3D, and you've gone to a halfway house. finding your way along the road to get back to the base you were meant to be in the first place. The halfway house is 4D. So all this astral plane, astral projection, etc., it is a very dangerous place too. But you have more manifestation and power in that dimension. So the battles won't stop when you work with Galeos. The battles won't stop when you are vibing in the fourth density with other beings. But you'll be more powerful and you will know it. That's why there's been a spike in interest of Marvel comic movies and all other sorts of things. But I'll leave that conversation for another time. So as your DNA is unraveling, as your body is changing, as you are changing, as your eyes are changing, as your glow, as your essence is changing, just know that you are more equipped to fight the principalities that be. But you are trying to ultimately get to a safe house. You're ultimately trying to get to your kingdom, your palace, where you can live for eternity. So look at higher dimension sciences. Vibrate on a higher dimension, but don't rest on your laurels. Don't become comfortable that you do not continue ascending, because it's a continuous journey. So as I said, I'm going to prove something else. You are one of the disciples. You. You're one of the disciples. And the zodiac signs that you refer to, from Aries to Pisces, in the 12 system, 3D, those are the disciples. And what were the disciples doing before they found the one who unified them and made them into superheroes? They were doing regular things, right? Looking after their family, going out to work, doing their 9 to 5, etc. But on came a 13th member. That 13th member we know as Yeshua, or Jesus Christ. And that 13th member, making it 4, as in 4D, 1 plus 3, 4, opened them up to a new world. Some of them shunned the 13th. Some of them embraced the 13th. And each and every one of us, whether you are woke, whether you are conscious, whether you are into esoterica, you have been 12 for so long. Rightly so. But as you evolve, you're going to meet that 13th member of your planetary system. And when you meet that 13th, you'll be open up to new things and to new levels where there will be new devils to defeat. And that's why Jesus says he will come back again. Because Jesus knows very well that when he turned those 12 men or women from their mundane 3D lives in hell, they were going to be open up to a whole new life that they needed to conquer. So it's not all said and done when you meet the 13th. It's not all said and done when you understand your fourth density traits, characteristics, your fourth density nature. But you are no longer in the third dimension. You are more powerful than the person you were 5, 10 years ago, or even 6 months ago. Because as you shift into the fourth density, you will be a new being. And the beings that you cannot see, and even some that you can, are very much aware of this. And they're going to bring out the biggest guns they've ever had for you. So if you wanted to know why in the narrative of Jesus Christ, or your Christhood, or your pineal gland anointed, that there will be a second coming, it's simply because you've been opened up to new levels. You've been opened up to new spheres. But the battle continues. So if you've ever scratched your head and considered why you're pulled towards looking at 13 signs astrology, or looking at Galeos.guru, and you're considering its validity compared to the mundane Western astrology brought to you by the Byzantines or the Romans or the people who now ruled this matrix, the Saturnian beings, which is not bad, but it's a level, then consider The fact that you are not a Power Ranger. You are not a Marvelous, because that's where Marvel comics come from, Marvelous. You are not a marvelous being. You are not a superhero until you meet your team fully. 12 signs astrology, or the third dimension, is fragmented. If you wanted to put one word onto this dimension that you've been used to, that you've been acquainted with, known as the third dimension, with all its sciences and with all its knowledge, just know that it's fragmented. But as you go up the ethers, as you go up the levels, as you go up the dimensions, you now start putting yourself together. This is why the 12 men, for example, and there are many other narratives that people don't even know about. Just know that those 12 men were fragmented beings. When Jesus came along and showed them another path and they were working as a team, they were still fragmented. Hence, they were different natures and different personalities and different characteristics within this group. Yet, they were powerful, more powerful than they were before. So you are becoming less and less fragmented as you move towards unity with the divine creator, with the divine source, with the abyss, with the nothingness and the everything, the zero, the nine. 0 and 9 are the same numbers if you understand numerology. If you see codes a lot, if you resonate with the Tesla 369, it's simply talking about your ascension and the defragmentation. The fact that you are becoming more and more whole as you gain consciousness and awareness of who you are. So just know that your light work is light work, but you've been carrying a heavy load simply because you are ignorant to the fact that there is a lighter load to bear. That's all. Look at the numbers. Numbers don't lie, people do. Even symbols can lie. But once you dig down deep enough and you see the codes, you will know that there is a universal language and that those codes are pointing you to a truth. And that truth you have to decipher for yourself. So are you going to resonate as the disciples did before they were the men that are talked about today? Or are you going to resonate with your whole chakra system? Because you can even translate those disciples to parts of your chakra system. And you don't need to argue about the number. You will find out your number of chakras. Everybody is different. So you need to unify yourself. We're coming up to Christmas now. Look at the Christmas tree, as I said before. You have the angel at the top. You have the lights throughout the Christmas tree. You decorate that tree. That tree that's not decorated or that tree that's still growing in the forest is bare. It's a tree, but it's not fully lit. It's not decorated. You need to decorate yourself. And the only way you can do that is through knowledge of self. That's why the powers that be, who are faltering, who are scurrying, who are panicking, hence you see what is going on in the third dimension nowadays, they would have you living your fragmented life, because when you are fragmented and powerless, you are bait, B-A-I-T. You are fodder. But as you become more and more aware of yourself and your power ignites, your generator starts to work again, you are Illuminati, illuminated, just as Jesus was, just as those disciples became. But it's not finished yet. You need to continue. So I don't know. I mean, I've asked my guides, I've asked the universe, I've asked my team members, how long will I be doing Galeos for? Because it is very energetically tiring. And with the principalities that have battled me throughout my life and have ramped up the battles for me and the pain, at times I'm weary and I just want to throw it all in and think, you know what, let me just get on with my life in the fourth dimension and try and get to the fifth. But I signed some contracts that can't allow me to do such. And when it's all said and done, it will be all said and done. Remember, Christ himself, the angels, are not aware of the second coming, just as I'm not aware of how long my work will be for. It's not decided by me, but it's decided by my higher aspect, or God. And once I'm unified with God, then the work will be finished. Once you are unified with God, quote unquote, the work will be finished. But until then, you have to keep persevering. So get to know your codes. Go to www.galeos.guru, GALEOS.guru, and get a sneak peek into your higher aspect. If it resonates with you, it's because you're ready. If it doesn't, you'll get to know later on. Peace.